Hey folks, welcome to the channel. If this is your first time stopping in, welcome to the channel. My name's Kyle. Here on the channel, we talk about various things on how to save you money, time, and let myself learn this stuff the hard way so you don't have to, because it doesn't matter what I do. I always struggle the first time. Hey, and don't forget, if you guys like this content, hit that subscribe button down below and follow along. It doesn't cost you a dime. It's no secret, things like electric heaters, gas furnaces, it doesn't matter what you use. Heating your garage can be expensive. Your shop, whatever you want to call it, your man shed. Now, a detached garage versus an attached garage are going to have different characteristics. If it's attached to your house, generally you're going to have vehicles inside of it that you'd have driven off the road. So it's going to have some heat come off of that for when it cools off in the garage. And on top of that, you're going to have heat transferring through that attached wall into your garage. Generally speaking, my attached garage never gets below freezing and there's not a single heater out there. So specifically, when talking about shops that are standalone like the one I'm in today, I want to give you guys 3 to 4 different things to consider, maybe unexpected things you could think about to how to save yourself money when heating your building. You see, the cold hard truth is garages or sheds in general are excess money that you're throwing at something. It's expense. Because you're not living out here. Really, if you're trying to heat it, you're trying to keep it habitable so you can come out here and do projects, keep maybe your liquids from freezing, paint, and so forth. Or like me, I've got my Mahindra Max tractor in here that it's just better on things when they stay above freezing. I don't think it's too much of a secret that heating a space like this can be a budget nightmare. You can't really budget for it because you're trying to justify something you may or may not use. You know, if you're like my dad, he's always in his garage, then it's just an extension of your house. Versus me, I'm out here basically doing videos like this in the winter months. So it's an expense to just record videos, more or less. Plus, there are some things out here that I don't want to freeze, but I could easily take those in the house. Maybe the least unexpected and the most beneficial is the unlocking and harnessing the power of insulation. Whether using extruded polystyrene, foam board, closed cell, open cell spray foam, fiberglass insulation, which I'm using in my exterior walls, blown-in cellulose in the attic, fiberglass in the attic. I have got Rollin R30 in my attic. Proper installation and proper insulation, and arguably is the most important part when considering if you're going to condition your space. Insulation is not that expensive overall, and really anything like the bat style or the Rollin insulation will be easy enough for a typical DIYer to do. And if you're wanting to heat your shop, you've probably got other DIY projects you want to do anyways. Now, there is no specific one-size-fits-all for insulation. Generally speaking, the cheapest is going to be a roll-in style or a bat insulation. That will do a good job. It's going to be the most economical, easy to install by a DIYer. They also have things like foam board you can put on the outside of the building, or you also can put inside the wall joists. The least economical and the least DIY friendly is going to be spray foam insulation. There's a lot of pros and cons to that as well, but it's going to really seal the whole building up. Preferably, if it were my choice, I'd use a combination of spray foam or rigid foam insulation with a fiberglass fill. Get your thermal break from your foam and then add more density by using fiberglass or cellulose or rock wool, something like that. That is to get the absolute best insulation that you want. Not necessarily needed, but the more insulation you use, the more economical it's going to be, and again, costs you less money. But you also have to weigh how much it costs you to heat to begin with, because it may take you 30 years to recoup your costs. Speaking of insulation, if you're running a slab floor like I am, putting a 2-inch piece of extruded foam below that will also help segregate the concrete from the soil below and help keep the slab warmer, again, reducing the amount of BTUs needed to heat the space and keep it warm. So you're questioning yourself, Kyle, do I have enough insulation already? How can I add more? Really, the easiest way to improve your insulation is if you have exposed cavities, or you can blow more in the attic. A lot of heat loss in the garage is lost in the attic, and we'll talk about the other source here in a minute. These types of energy things are going to be based on your area. I'll put up a link below to where you can find a map of what you should have in your area. That website will have recommendations on R value and some other things to consider in your code area, because again, I'm in the northern part of the United States and we've got the extreme cold and extreme heat. And right now it's extreme cold. Number 2 on the list of unexpected ways to save energy is use the sun. You guys can see behind me here. It's nice and bright and shiny out today, actually, even though it's cold. But use the sun to your advantage. Use windows where you can to let more sunlight in. Obviously, you want to use efficient windows, otherwise you're going to leak more energy out. But also need to be considering too that the more windows there is, the more heat you may let in the summertime. It's kind of a you pick your poison situation, right? But use the sun. Put your garage door facing south so that metal can absorb heat and bring it into the building. Some, right? But you get my idea. Use the sun to your power because it's always, the sun's going to come up every day. And if it doesn't, we've got bigger problems. Now, whether or not it's covered by clouds, that's an entirely different can of worms. You could also think about using some different types of solar to heat your space. Now, I actually have solar panels that run the power to my entire property, so using the sun in that regard to pay for my heating bill. As you can see today, my solar panels are partially covered with snow. We are making power and we are heating the building. You can make some simple DIY solar heaters to help bring the heat in the building too. I don't know much about them. I know they exist, and there are some people that really take a good advantage of using those systems to heat their house affordably, and shops for that matter. And really, last but not least, here is the hidden benefits that you lose out by not having a good garage door. Essentially, by not having an insulated garage door, you got a massive hole in your wall to which heat can outside, and the heat wants to go where it's cold and the cold wants to go where it's hot. Does it make sense? It's science. It's all I can do to explain it to you. Now, when I built this property, I had plans of heating it, but I didn't think much about the R value of the door. Now, I did use an R7 door, which is lower than the walls and ceilings, so a lot of the heat's going to want to go in the path of least resistance out the front door. Now, some R value is better than nothing, but using a good R value, they have them as high as I think like 16 to 18. A high R value in your door is going to save you a lot of money, because again, it's a massive hole that you're trying to plug with something that can open and close. Using something like this one, it's metal on the inside and out, helps reflect some of the heat. But if you don't have an insulated garage door, you can pick up kits. I'll put one down below here in the description below of something you can use. But a lot of your local home improvement stores are also going to have something similar. Insulate your door. It's probably the biggest thing you can do to help yourself out. That's assuming you've got insulation in the walls and in the attic. If you don't have an insulated garage door, just think of it like having a big hole in the wall. And if you're going to have a good garage door, make sure it is well sealed. If it's not sealed well, then you're just letting more cold air in the building. And what I mean by well sealed, make sure you've got weather stripping around it, covering up any gaps so the air can't just flow in. And along the bottom, make sure your door seal is in good shape, contacting the ground to keep the draft from flowing under it. So last but not least here, you're probably saying, Kyle, I can't afford the extra $2,000 for the garage door. I don't have the $2,000 to $3,000 to insulate the darn thing. What can I do to stay warm in my space and to enjoy it? You can see behind me here, I've got a TV. Sometimes I'll sit out here and watch YouTube videos. Some quiet time. But I don't want to heat the entire shop up. Insert to the picture right above me here. This is an infrared heater from King Electric. You could do something like this, do pointed heat. What's nice about this is it's like focal heat, right? The infrared heat, I can sit here at my table, be watching TV, making a plan for my next video, doing some paperwork, and right behind me, there's a nice infrared heater keeping me warm. I don't have to heat the entire space. It's like 1,500 watts, which is about the same amount of power your little electric fireplaces in your house use versus the 7,500 this guy uses. So for 1/7 the power, I can keep myself warm and sit here. To make it even simpler, you can get yourself one of those small personal ones, plug it into the wall, set it here on the tabletop, and just enjoy yourself. Even easier, you can pick those up at Walmart, Amazon, they all have different options. But keep in mind, it's not free either. They are using power, but they're easy to set up and anybody can really plug it in the wall and turn it on. We all want to be able to enjoy our happy places in the winter months when it's cold. This is just some stuff that you can consider to make your space more habitable. Or you can just put 2 pairs of gloves on and 4 coats and sit out here. Today it's 13 degrees with a 15-mile-an-hour breeze. It's chilly. So being inside of a nice warm shop does help. Thanks for stopping in for today's video, guys. Really appreciate y'all. Without you, this channel doesn't exist. I'll catch you guys on the next video.